Orlando Waugh here with Waugh Jiu-Jitsu. Today we want to talk with you about how to build a shield against bullies. This is a program that you can practice at home with your children, and if you want further training, well, of course, you can come see your local martial arts expert, and we'll be happy to help you with that. Now, this is Cece Jackson. She started with me when she was 9 years old. As you can see, she's not 9 years old anymore. She'll be 21 in October. And she's going to help us today to demonstrate the different parts of building a shield. The first thing we want to talk about is the S in the shield, what we call a strong stop. Now, anytime that you're talking to someone, if you don't use a powerful voice, well, the impact that it has is diminished. For example, if Miss Jackson and I are facing one another and I'm acting like your neighborhood bully, and I start to walk up to her and she's being very soft with her stop. Notice how that wasn't very effective. What we want looks more like this, a strong stop. I start to enter her personal space. Stop! Right there. Her goal is to put me on notice, hey, stop, but it is also her ambition to make sure that everyone around knows that something is happening that shouldn't be happening. So this is the first part of the shield, what we call a strong stop. The next part of the shield is what we call hands up. Now, hands up is important for a couple of reasons. One, we know for a fact that body language is more powerful than what a person says and how they say what they say combined. For example, if I walk up to Miss Jackson, even if she uses a strong stop, but she gives me fearful body language, stop! Notice how that's not very effective. What we need here is what we call hands up. Hands up means she gets her hands up in front of her face so that she's protecting her face and that she's creating a barrier between herself and a bully. So as I start to walk up, neighborhood bully, stop! Good. Notice right here, her hands are up in front of her face. This makes sure that I can see that she means stop. And once again, any teachers or parents that are in the near vicinity see her with her hands up, and it lets everyone know something's happening that shouldn't be happening. The next part of the shield is what we call in base. Now, your base is how you're connected to the floor. It impacts your posture, it impacts your mobility. What we want to see the student do is step back with one leg, get their feet spread wide enough for strong balance. And when she's in good base, she's going to use the strong stop and the hands up together. It looks just like this. So now, I start to walk into Miss Jackson's personal space. Stop! Good. Now she's in base. She's got her hands up. It's very important that she has her base because if I decide that I want to get physical, she wants to give herself the best possible chance of resisting without being knocked over. We always teach the children to be careful not to stand like a bowling pin. Here's what that means. If she brings her feet side by side, if I push against her at all, she has no way to resist without stepping back. So we want to eliminate that step and go ahead and step back in advance. So that if I push against her, look, see now we're pushing, but she's pushing back because she has a strong base. So that's the I in the shield, is in base. The E in the shield is for eye contact. One of the most important ways of communicating with someone is with your eye contact. Now, if Miss Jackson and I demonstrate this, we'll first demonstrate what poor eye contact looks like. I get into her personal space, and as I enter her personal space, you notice she breaks eye contact. It lets me know that she's intimidated. And what we know is that bullies are not looking for a fight, they're looking for a victim. And if she demonstrates that she's intimidated, it makes me feel stronger and I'm more likely to advance. Here's what we want it to look like inside of the shield. I step up, she looks me right in my eyes. This is an amazing drill that you can do with your child. Have them look you in the eyes Do it in 30-second intervals and then take a short break. But watch one more time. When I look at her eyes, she doesn't look away. She engages me. And when she keeps her eyes with my eyes, it lets the bully know that she's not afraid. Now we've reached the L portion of the shield. The L stands for let them know. And what we want to let them know is that we don't want to fight them, but we will if we have to. And for them to please leave us alone. Now notice when we let them know we don't want to fight them, but we will if we have to, please leave me alone. What this does is several things. First off, it lets the other person have an opportunity for an honorable exit because you say, hey, I don't want to fight you. We don't want to say things like, you better leave me alone or I'll fight you, because that sounds too much like a threat. Our ambition is to let the other person know we don't want any violence. If we have to defend ourselves, we're not afraid to. And then we ask them nicely to leave us alone. So here's what it looks like. If I approach Miss Jackson, get in her personal space.
Stop! I don't want to fight you, but I will if I have to. Now please leave me alone.
Very good. Now what she just did, she said, hey, I don't want to fight you. I will if I have to. Please leave me alone. She did it with strong eye contact, in base, with her hands up, and with a strong stop. This is the foundation for avoiding a fight. Okay, so finally, we talked about a strong stop. We talked about hands up. We talked about in base. We talked about eye contact, and we talked about letting them know that you don't want to fight them, but you will if you have to. Please leave you alone. The D in the shield stands for defend yourself. To become proficient in self-defense, a person obviously needs training. And the more training you can get, the better. But what we've learned is that some training is infinitely better than no training. So what we're going to show you right now is just a very basic system for blocking, what we call the fence. It looks just like this. Once I face Miss Jackson here and I'm being very confrontational, there are 3 standard and most common attacks that a kid may encounter from another bully. Number 1 is a push. Keeping her hands up, she's already in position to deflect the push. Every time I try to come down the middle, she deflects the push down. She doesn't let me put my hands on her. And it lets me know, hey, she's not afraid and she isn't scared stiff, that if I keep coming, there's going to be action. The next most common is what we call just the haymaker or a cowboy punch. I go like this, and all she does is using one arm, she blocks at my forearm below the elbow. It's very important that when this block happens, that it doesn't happen at the elbow where my hand can swing around and still contact her. She needs to make sure that she blocks below the elbow so that the momentum of the hand is stopped. And then the last angle is if I decide to swing with my left hand. And it's the same concept as the last one. She blocks below the elbow. She wants to make sure that I don't hit her in the face. Obviously, self-defense expands far beyond just the 3 angles of the fence. Blocking against a push, blocking against a right punch, blocking against a left punch. However, to get the extensive training necessary, you really should see your local martial arts expert. Thank you for watching. This concludes the bully shield. Remember, strong stop, hands up, in base, eye contact, let them know, and if you have to, defend yourself. Orlando Waugh with Waugh Jiu-Jitsu. Be safe out there. Remember, martial arts is not about beating people up, it's about building people up.